You're dealing with people. You know, it's not that you're inherently discriminating, but part of your product allows people to do that. How are you thinking about that from a company standpoint, how you're messaging your own employees? Mm-hmm. How are you thinking about this from a product standpoint? How are you building it to maybe, you know, try to work that out as best you can?
So I can talk maybe high level. Belinda's actually leading this effort. I'll just tell you kind of as a founder how I think about this. Generally speaking, you know, I think we were late to this issue. And I think one of the questions is, well, why were you so late to this issue? I think we were so focused on a notion of trust and keeping people safe that we wanted to have everyone have a real identity with photos, make sure, because we were responding to other crises of trust and safety. And while that happened, we took our eye off the ball on this incredibly important issue. And what we noticed was that people were making judgments about who to be let in their home. And by the way, people should have a choice of who would be in their home. But what choices are they deciding? These choices were very subjective and discriminatory potentially. And one guiding principle is that you want to give people tools so they can make objective measures. We commissioned our own study in Stanford, and one of the things we found is there can be discrimination if everyone's a stranger. You tend to snap judgment to predispositions you know. But if you see somebody's reviews and you learn about them and where they went to school, the moment you can take the stranger out of somebody, and this isn't just about race, this could be about countries.
Sure.
Suddenly, this levels the playing field. And so what we need to do, first and foremost, is add objective measures so that people don't rely on, you know, prejudice. That being said, there are racists in the world, and we need to have a zero tolerance. And we absolutely have zero tolerance. And so we've developed a better escalation system. So if we hear something in the community, we absolutely make a stand in the community. But the last thing I'll say, and Blaine can take over, is we are basically in the middle of a 90-day study. Because we're also realizing when we designed the platform, Joe, Nate, and I, three white guys, there's a lot of things we didn't think about when we designed this platform. And so there's a lot of steps that we need to reevaluate.
Yeah, I would just add, you know, we've always had policies in place, but I think the last few months we've had a lot of learnings, and so we've brought in experts to help us. We hired Laura Murphy, who is the former head of ACLU in Washington, and to come and really spearhead this for us so that we understand the issues a lot better. And we're going to do a full review of top to bottom of our entire platform to make sure that in every design, in every kind of part of the product, that inclusion is top of mind. And so we're going to be kind of rolling things out over the next 90 days. And
how do you think about this issue, right? So, of course, you want it to be perfectly inclusive, you know, your product, your company. There isn't an executive who wouldn't say that. Mm-hmm. However, how do you look at the liability of it? You know, when you were you were pilloried for this very early on, and, you know, how much of it do you look at it and go, this is something that is our responsibility to fix, or this is society, and I don't know how much we can do?
Gosh, I think we have not focused as much on a pure liability standpoint because we feel like we have a responsibility.
That not in a legal standpoint.
Yeah, but a moral obligation to ensure that everyone on our platform is treated fairly. And I think it's not just the leaders in the company doing it. This is a kind of a whole company effort, and we're engaging with our employees and our community to find the best path here. Part of that is, you know, in the company creating a safe space to even have the conversations. Yeah. We recently hired a head of diversity and inclusion, David King, who is kind of helping us with all of these issues, and part of that is giving people the tools to even have the conversations.
Fair enough.
The one thing I'll say is, kind of in the height of, or when this controversy started bubbling up, I sent an email to the entire company. Mm-hmm. And in the email, one of the first things I said is the inclination of a company and a chief executive is when there's an issue, the inclination is to address the issue. I wrote it in quotes, address the issue. Because what does address the issue mean? Address the issue sounds to me like doing the minimum amount of work to stay out of trouble. And this is kind of what these topics are. But I said that Airbnb was a little bit different than other companies. Because again, if you're trying to bring people together from different backgrounds, different races, different cultures, then discrimination for most companies is an adjacency to their mission. Your mission is whatever's most important to you. Our thing, most importantly, is to bring people together. Mm-hmm. This was an obstacle to our mission. And that if we merely tried to address the issue, we would actually probably not accomplish our mission. And so we had two choices. We could either address the issue, which I think would be on the wrong side of history or be a forgotten part of history. Or we can actually, I mean, one of the great things about technology is we have the opportunity to kind of drive change that we hope the rest of the world will mirror. And that is, I think, why we are under such scrutiny, but we also have such responsibility.
Yeah.
And so then the question they ask the companies, what kind of world do you want to live in? And then we should lead by example. We're not going to create that world, but we should set the example.
Good point. I'm going to come to the audience for questions in 1 minute, but I have a very briefly,
Yeah.
I want to talk about a different segment of your community, and that's the business community.
Right.
How are